Okay, it is the week of February 9th. It's about 7:20 a.m. GMT time. It's a little bit later than usual for me, so we're gonna try and do this real quick so I can get everything rendered, hopefully before London Open. All right, so the pound pairs or the pound crosses anyway are pretty much the same. I'm gonna look for a reaction off the 4-hour 55 because it's been in control for last few weeks now. If we do break below the 55 um, for a sustained period of time, a good confirmed break, look for a drop all the way back down to the 4-hour 200. This particular is pound New Zealand dollar. Pound CAD, you can see I fibbed the last 2 weeks, last 2 prior weeks, so from January 26th till the high. Again, we have the 4-hour 55 where I'll look for the first reaction. If we do get a solid break below there, we could see a reaction to WS1, and then beyond that, if we break those areas, I'll expect to drop down to the 4-hour 200. Pound odd, we're a little bit further away, but still the first area that I'd like to trade from is the 4-hour 55. I don't really want to trade off the weekly pivot, although we've had some support in that area because of this top. This doesn't give us a whole lot of room. I would rather see a reaction outside of this area, so either a break up from where we are now or a pullback through this area and then a reversal. If we do get below the 4-hour 55, I'll expect to drop down close to the 4-hour 200. Pound yen, we broke all of the EMAs. However, I have to be pretty careful with this because of where pound USD is at. Potentially, depending on what the other pairs are doing, we could see a long off of the weekly pivot, but that puts us right in the middle of the EMAs. So be careful there. Wait for probably more confirmation to go long. And I say that we may not see much more to the upside on pound yen because of where we're at on pound USD. We did smack into the daily 55, which looks like the beginning of a nice short. I wasn't able to catch it off of that level, but we're right now sitting right where the 4-hour 200 is. We have the super convergence zone forming. So I will be looking for either a short from there right off the bat or another test of the daily 55 and then a move back down. Euro New Zealand dollar, last week's the trade was off of the daily 200, so this week we'll be looking for a continuation to the downside, potentially a move back up to the daily 55 and then a short or a break below the 50% fib, which will put us below the monthly pivot and the super convergence zone. EuroCAD looks pretty nasty, especially if you take a look at it on the daily. We do potentially have this triangle. I'm not interested in trading this pair this week. Euro Australian dollar, pretty much the same. Don't really want to trade it. Euro yen, I don't really like the fib this week. I guess it's alright, but I would be looking for preferably a short from 137, which would be right around the 4-hour 200 and WR2. But we might not make it up that far. We may only make it to WR1 and see a move back down from there. All right, all New Zealand dollars had a pretty significant pullback on the daily time frame and has started to move down last week. I'll look for a continuation to the downside, but really to trade it, I want to see price come back up to the weekly pivot before I get a short signal. Otherwise, I'm not really interested. AUD-CAD, again, two currencies that I'm still looking at weakening unless we see some other indications. So again, not really interested to trade this pair. JPY, we've moved away from the 4-hour diamond fibs and we're right around the 4-hour 55 right now. So I'll actually look for either a break below the 4-hour 55 followed by a pullback and a move down, or potentially a move up to 93.38 in that area, and then a break back below 93. On USD, we're sitting right on the weekly pivot, which has actually been a little bit of support and resistance on the 4-hour. So options there are break, pullback, and a short, or we potentially retest from the 4-hour 55. New Zealand dollar CAD again looks pretty messy, so I'm not overly interested. The areas to long for me would be the daily 55, but then there's a lot of garbage in the way. It requires some pretty tight trade management. The second area for a long would be, of course, the daily 200. But overall, I'm not really interested to trade this pair because it's kind of messy. On New Zealand dollar JPY, I'm either going to look for a break and pullback of the 4-hour 55 to short, or I'd like to see price come up to the convergence of the daily 200 and 4-hour 200 to short from there. New Zealand dollar USD, look for first a slight push into the 55, and then if we reject there, that could provide a good short. Otherwise, I'll look for price to come up into this area. If we get a real strong break straight through there, look for price to hit the 4-hour 200 and even potentially the daily 55. USD CAD, I'll look for a long around WS1. Again, potentially we're right on the 4-hour 55, so we have a potential for a break above the weekly pivot, and then a long. Sorry about that extra arrows in there. My left mouse click is messing up. If we do break below WS1, it should be no surprise that we'll fall down into this area, which coincides fairly well with support and resistance. So again, if we do break WS1, look for at least the 4-hour 200 to get hit, if not the daily 55. USD JPY, we made a strong move up at the end of the week last week, so I will be looking for a long anywhere between the weekly pivot at 118.34 and the EMAs at 118, which is also about the 50% fib. Euro USD, on this pair I fibbed 3 weeks back, the high from 3 weeks back to the most recent low. And here I will look for a reaction to the 4-hour 55 and the weekly pivot, followed by WR1. If we do get above there, look for price to move up to the 4-hour 200. All right, folks, everybody have a good week, and I will try to catch you guys in the forums.